Good afternoon. It is a beautiful day in this gorgeous state of Colorado, and I just got done doing that glute workout, and my glutes are absolutely on fire, and that barbecue smells absolutely fire. Anyways, I have a really short but sweet glute day for you guys using dumbbells only. We have a glute activation warm-up, and then the exercises. Again, quality over quantity for this one, please remember that. And I have my little midday coffee pick-me-up because I was really trying to get through the day without having to do coffee, but yeah, it just wasn't working out so well for me. Anyways, I hope you guys like this. Let me know what your thoughts are on it, and we'll see you in the next one. Here we're starting with some glute activation and dynamic warm-up. So I put a band about midway on my thigh, slightly higher, and I do some squats. You don't have to go down all the way, just go down a little bit. And then I squat, and then I throw one of my legs back and really just contract my glutes just to get them prepared and warm up for about what's to come. Here we're doing a deadlift type motion, slight bend in the knees, bending at the waist. I'm just touching my glute to make sure it is properly activating. I will oftentimes do this in the gym. I'm a huge advocate for touching whatever muscle you are trying to activate just to really get that mind-muscle connection there. It's not necessary to keep the band on. I just did it because I was doing these activation exercises, dynamic warm-ups back to back, and it was just a little easier. So no worries about having that. I do a single leg hip thrust also as a part of my warm-up. Again, band is not necessary here. It was just convenient to have it on. I am making sure I'm pushing through my heels. As you can see, my toes are up. I'm really pushing through my heels. And then I am lifting up. I always start with my weak side first, so I started with my right side first, and then I went to my left. I like doing leg sitting abduction with the band, and it's super helpful. I really activate my glutes. I had to play around with this position and my upper body to really make sure I was getting the most activation and the best warm up and stretch for my glutes. Your girl loves a good hip thrust, and so once again I am doing a full hip thrust here, making sure my weight is going through my heels, all that power is going through my heels. I even put my toes up occasionally just to make sure I'm really activating both sides. And the band is necessary here. I am pushing out with my glutes with that band and really getting that activation. That is a huge key part to get that side booty especially. The first exercise here is a dumbbell deadlift. Again, where that deadlift warm-up came in, super handy. I already knew going in how to activate my glutes in this, and you can see me changing my range of motion to get the best activation. So where I found the sweet spot was going partially down and slightly up, not completely up, but just keeping enough tension in my glutes so I wasn't doing a full repetition. If you are feeling this in your back, you can either lower the weight and just really make sure you are pushing your glutes back, like you're pushing your butt into a wall. And that is actually really helpful to do this with a wall behind you, so your butt hits the wall and then you just stand up. And notice how I'm partially doing it. You can see my toes move quite a bit actually, because I'm making sure that most of my weight is in my heels. You should have some range of motion with your toes. You should be able to lift up your toes because again, most of the weight in the heels, power through the heels, and that's where you're going to get your contraction. Next are sumo squats, and you can grab a weight or you don't have to grab a weight, but if you do, make sure you're holding it as close to your body as you can. Make sure your legs and heels are hip width apart. You have a slight outward turn to your feet to really engage that glute, the inner thigh. Make sure you're pinching the bottom of your glute as you come up. I noticed that I also had to bring in my hips slightly. I was getting a slight bit of back pain and it just wasn't enough activation for my glutes. So once I brought that in, my back pain went away. Make sure you're keeping your back straight here. It's okay to have your weight forward. Just make sure you are pulling in your hips enough so that your back is not hurting and you're getting enough activation from your glutes. Here we're doing a bench hip thrust, where you have the mid part of your back on the bench. You have your neck tucked in. Your heels are on the ground slightly in front of you. I have my toes up again, really just making sure I get that full activation out of my glutes and my hammies, and really hitting the bottom of your glute, top of your hamstrings. Really pinch that in. You can use a weight, and if you do, make sure you're putting it on your hips so your center of gravity is nice and comfortable. If you're able to tell, the bench kept moving away from me. In hindsight, I should have put a weight behind it, but it did keep messing me up. So if you're going to use a bench like this, put some kind of a plate or a weight behind it so it's not moving as much. My back was slipping down, so just adjust as needed to make sure you have good form, there's no back pain, whatever that means for you. If you are having back pain, decrease the range of motion and just really focus on that contraction of your glutes. On to our last exercise here, which is a single leg dumbbell deadlift. I'm using my left leg out in front of me, where I have most of my weight, 80 to 90% of my weight is in my heel, pushing up through that heel, and really just focus on contracting my left glute, whereas I have my right foot behind me, really just my toes, so I'm not putting too much weight on that leg. I'm more just using it as a balancing point. As you can see, I adjusted there that last point to really find the best balancing point where I'm not putting a lot of weight in my right leg, just so I'm getting the most contraction and the most stress on my glute to properly tear those fibers. Just to reiterate, I am pushing through my glutes, making sure my glutes come first in this exercise. And you noticed my right hand is on my backside, really feeling that I am contracting that left glute as best as I possibly can. I'm a huge advocate for touching that muscle that you are working, whether it's your glute or your quad, really whatever it is, and if I can reach it. So I'm really aware of that mind-muscle connection and exactly what that muscle is doing, so I can correct for any future problems or errors that I am doing. I know how this workout is supposed to feel.